we all have stories. We have our limiting beliefs. We have the things that we hold on to that hold us back from making the changes in our lives that we know that we need to make. So we position these videos in a way that tells a story that overpowers the audience's limiting beliefs.
Welcome back to the Outsourcing and Scaling Show. My guest today is Marley Baird. Marley, how are you doing today?
I am good.
We are pumped to talk to you. For those of you who don't know, Marley is an expert in creating strategically vertical content, getting videos to rank first on YouTube and Google using cross-channel video marketing for maximum reach. She brings next-level video social selling to the marketplace, working with top dogs like Christy Code Red, Alex Sharfin, who we had on our podcast, Rachel Peterson, Stephen Larson, and having worked events with Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin, among others. She's waging the war against short-term influencers and creating an army of visionary leaders who refused mediocre, mundane, and average video strategies. MBM builds a production team around their movement through omnipresent video assets, and she's only interested in massive ROI and extraordinary impact. I'm pumped to talk to you. We're going to go all into that. But first, let's take a gigantic step back. What were you like growing up? Were you a straight A student? Were you a rebel? Did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a funny question. I love that. I was a straight A student, but also a rebel. So school kind of came easy to me until I got to university. I totally failed university because I don't know, that was a whole new world. But I was definitely a rebel. This is something that I only told my parents about recently, was that my parents never wanted me to go hang out with friends or anything after school. It was come home, do your homework, practice piano or whatever, go to soccer, whatever hobbies I had. And they didn't want me to go hang out with friends. But then as I got to junior high school age, that's what everyone was doing. And I felt so left out. But my parents also really valued academics. So what I would do is I would make up my own permission slip form saying that there was an after school field trip for something educational. And I would actually say it's, admission is $20. So I would make my parents sign this form and pay $20. So then that would pay for whatever I was doing with my friends that night.
Did you ever disclose to your parents later on that's what you were doing?
I just told them recently and they had no idea. Oops.
That's hilarious. So how'd you get into entrepreneurship? What was your first endeavor?
Well, it's funny to think to connect the dots backwards, that I guess I was always doing things even in my house. I tried to make a kitchen and sell food to my family and friends and stuff like that instead of just doing chores. That still is a chore. And then growing up, I was always trying to find little side things that I could do. And then I was actually a dental hygienist before I became an entrepreneur. I was a dental hygienist. I also worked in radio and event management. But when I was a dental hygienist, I started doing social media for the dental office because I was bored of cleaning teeth all day, every day. It's not that entertaining. And then their IT guy was like, can I refer you to one of my other clients to do their social media? Well, he referred me to all of his clients. And that's how I discovered that, oh, wow, there's this is a business opportunity, and then learned how I could create more of it and went all in on it.
So are you someone that took courses or had a mentor, or did you just dive in and figure it out?
Well, I first started by learning by myself. And then of course the power of Facebook, I'd start to get retargeted for things as I would Google and try to find, how do I learn more on this? And I mean, YouTube is an amazing school. The school of YouTube, just learning what other people are putting out there. And then of course, that's what I got into, is creating my own content, which is great for visibility and awareness, and then also consistent recurring lead generation and sales. But then I did start to find other courses, because I thought, if I'm going to be charging people money for these services, I want to be the best at it so that I can also get more clients and get that word of mouth and the reputation for being someone that over delivers and gets results. So yeah, I started. Rachel Peterson was the first person that I bought a course from, and then now we're best friends and business partners. So it's kind of funny how it all fell together.
That's awesome. And yeah, Free Up has worked with Rachel. We've done Facebook Lives to her group. That's awesome. So why video? What is it about video that really stands out now?
Yeah, well, I loved video. Even you mentioned as a kid, I used to steal my dad's video camera and make funny videos with my cousins. And it was just something that I did for fun. And I was vlogging before vlogging was a thing. I would bring my camera to parties on the weekend with my friends in high school, and I'd make a vlog of our entire weekend experience before that was really a thing, before YouTube was, or before people were doing that on YouTube. And then, so as I became a social media manager part-time when I was a dental hygienist, I wanted to get more exposure for what I was doing. And if I can make videos that show people what I'm doing, then maybe I can get more clients. So I started doing it. And of course, as you start to do anything, most of the time we do it the wrong way, and we learn how to do it the right way by trial and error and by falling on our face, which I certainly did many times. And then I started putting up videos and positioning them a different way, and even just the YouTube SEO, because remembering that YouTube is a search engine, not just a social media platform. Then I started getting videos that were a hit, and I would get emails in my inbox of, hey, can you, how do I work with you? Can I buy this from you? Or how can you do this for me? Or just people that were because also every single email or every video has a lead magnet. So people are joining my email list consistently that I was then able to nurture. And I realized, like, video, this is the way. And even when you see the trends on social media, that video is valued higher in the algorithm compared to other content, that people are more intrigued and engaged by it. That's what I decided to go all in on, because I was able to get the results for myself. Then we thought, can I reverse engineer this to get these same results for my clients? And we started testing it, and then came to this process where we now create the entire video strategy for our clients, and then batch film 6 months of content in 3 days, and then manage all the content for our clients in a way that's hands off for them while getting them the best results to scale their audience and ROI.
Can you talk a little bit about that strategy and what goes into a good video strategy? Because I feel like a lot of people, they're making videos or throwing them up there. I know I'm probably guilty of that as well. What goes into a really concrete strategy?
And we talk about that, and I mean, I mentioned it, I fell on my face many times, and there's people that they put a lot of effort into making a video, or that, like, it takes, I mean, you turn on a camera and you have to be on, like, the energy, and it's
right.
It's effort. But if it doesn't go anywhere, that effort was for nothing. I actually just talked to a friend of mine last week that was saying, I've done Facebook Lives for 2 years. I've built my entire business on Facebook Live, but I wish that I had done it on YouTube instead, because the Facebook Lives from 2 years ago, people aren't finding them anymore. And yes, they might have brought me leads that day, but imagine if you put that effort into YouTube and had this library of content that people were able to find because it's a search engine. So that's one of the things that we do. Is I'm not saying no to Facebook Lives. I still do them. It's great for nurturing your audience on the day-to-day. But when you have YouTube that can be an evergreen lead generation machine for you, the effort that needs to go into it up front is, what am I called? Like, what's this video about? We do the keyword research to see how are people actually searching for these terms. So for example, we have a client, Christy Code Red, that wanted to make a video about belly fat because she's in the weight loss niche. And even though weight loss is super saturated, we know how to position these videos to still get her at the top of search engines. So for example, if you type in and you do the keyword research on how to lose belly fat, that's a huge topic. There's tons of videos on it, meaning there's also lots of competition. And she's gaining in her authority, so she can go for those big fish and be able to compete with them. But we also saw that if you shift the way that it's titled so that it was how to flatten your belly, that was something that still had a high search volume, but a lower competition. So we knew that we could get her ranking at the top, but then we could still go for competing with how to lose belly fat. So there's some things that are just like checking how to actually position the video. Now also how to script the video, how to share your message in a way that you bring those emotional shifts to people, that you insert those stories that make people, it overpowers their story. Because we all have stories. We have our limiting beliefs. We have the things that we hold on to that hold us back from making the changes in our lives that we know that we need to make. So we position these videos in a way that tells a story that overpowers the audience's limiting beliefs.
So your YouTube is pretty much like Google. If you're trying to get your website to the top, you have to treat your videos in that same fashion. That's what I'm hearing.
Very much, yes.
Awesome. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about hiring a little bit. I think people that have your skill set, that have been in it for a while, sometimes struggle to build a team that still give their clients that same quality. If you disappear for 2 weeks and someone is filming videos with your clients or executing different plans, you want that same quality there. What does your team look like now? Are you remote? Do you have an office? Are you using freelancers, virtual assistants, US employees? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have a team of 14 people, and they are all over. Most of them are in Canada and the United States. We have a couple that are overseas, and it started and they're all virtual. The only people that live in the same city is my husband and my brother that also work with me, but everyone else is completely virtual, and we have Zoom meetings every day, and we follow, you mentioned you had Alex Sharfin on the podcast, so we follow Alex Sharfin's cadence, where we have our waterfall, like our annual objectives, our 90-day targets, our 30-day goals, our weekly commitments, and that's how we keep on track with what direction are we going in, how are we accomplishing our goals, and then also the communication structure that we have daily huddles to communicate and not have not micromanage or feel like anyone is being managed. They're being led.
So Alex is a good client of FreeUp. Can you talk a little bit about the daily huddles? Because I know that's something he preached. We talked a little bit about it on his podcast, but I'd love to hear from someone that learned from him and how you're doing it with your team.
Yeah. And I love it so much. I'm so grateful that I found Alex when I did, because when I first started my business, of course, it was just me. And then my husband was able to leave his full-time job to join me in the business. And then I hired my brother, and then I hired a virtual assistant, and then an executive assistant, and then a video editor. Like, I looked for all this space where our time was being used too much, and we knew that we needed to move to more strategic instead of tactical. So we'd hire for those spaces. But then, of course, as your team grows, it's like, well, how do I communicate with all of them, especially if we're not in the same office, or even if we were in the same office, what's the best way to communicate? And doing daily huddles has been just a massive transformation in the business. And a lot of people might think, like, you have a meeting every day? That sounds like a lot of work. It's actually a lot less, because where some companies might, be just walking into each other's offices and interrupting and, hey, I need to talk to you about this. And, oh, this thing just came up. Like, that's distracting, especially when for me, like, when I'm working on something, I'm really focused on it. And that context switching really loses momentum and loses productivity. So when we have these daily huddles, we have 3 things that we ask, or 3 things that we really go through is, does anyone have any critical issues? And then that's where we can bring to the table what we might need support with, or what's going on our weekly commitments that we might be behind or need someone's support with, so that everyone can feel productive and efficient and supported. Then we also ask to share any wins. Does anyone have any wins that they want to report? So something that they might have accomplished, and it doesn't have to be business. It could also be personal, because as a team, we want to support each other individually. And then lastly, who got caught being awesome? So we can also recognize each other and how we're supporting each other on the team. And it's really cool to see that as the team grows, that who got caught being awesome part gets longer and longer, because it's a really cohesive team, and we're able to support each other. And even just having this day-to-day, again, it was something that the team at first might have thought, this is a lot to do a meeting every single day, but we all look forward to having these daily huddles, because not only do we get to connect, even if it's only a 10-15 minute meeting, but we also know what's going on in the business, so that someone who might have a smaller role or even a really big role knows what's the umbrella of this, what's everyone else doing, and what are my actions supporting, so that there's also, this is something that Alex talks about, it's not pressure from the top, like from me as the CEO saying, you need to do this and here's what you need to get done. It's also like a lateral pressure, because you have this team that you want to support, and you don't want to let them down, you don't want to hold them back from their zone of genius. So it's been massively transformational in the business, but also for me and my team individually.
I love it. You mentioned a virtual assistant. Obviously, a lot of people listening are using FreeUp. They're hiring virtual assistants. What do you use a virtual assistant for, and what do you look for in a virtual assistant?
I found my first virtual assistant found me. She found me on Twitter, and I wasn't even looking for one, but we just connected, and I loved her personality, and she was such a go-getter, and she really showed me that she cared about my business. So you asked, what do you look for in a virtual assistant, or in anyone I hire? I want them to be a true believer. That's another Alex Sharfin term, that they come into this business and they love it, that they're not just coming into it for a job. And that's something that I also do in my hiring process, is we have a type form that they fill out, and I ask them, what do you know about this company, or what do you know about me? And sometimes people will just respond like, I don't know anything. And to me, I go, well, couldn't you have Googled something? Like, take
Right.
a few minutes, that if you want this job, and if you want an opportunity that you not only get to put your time into, like, put your heart into it. So I want people that are coming into my business that they love being part of this team, that they want to be a key player in this business, not just get in and get out and make a paycheck. So that's something that I really look for. So when my virtual assistant, Andrea, found me, it was something that she came to me already knowing what I did, which made it easier for me to also invest my time and energy into her, to grow and nurture her in this role. So my virtual assistant, as of right now, she does a little bit with emails. She helps with a lot of tactical stuff, even uploading videos for us, because there might be some tactical things with just like upload, type in this. And really, I look for roles to fulfill based on tactical work that I might be doing, or a team member might be doing, where we need to move into strategic, and what can we offload and train and put into a process for someone else to execute.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the creative. So I'm assuming that you have video editors, you've got writers, you've got graphic designers. How do you go about vetting creatives? How do you go about working with creatives and getting the ideas that are in your head or your client's head actually out there?
When I first started hiring video editors, because that editing a video is very time consuming, and it's the biggest thing that we hear from our clients, and that's where we have our Done With You and our Done For You program to help alleviate that for them. And so I was spending so much time editing a video, yet I had this belief that like I'm the only person that can do this because of my creative vision and my art is intuitive, and you can't teach someone something that's intuitive. And again, let's talk about Alex Sharfin. He was the one that said to me straight up, Marley, you're not that special. And it's so true. Like there's nothing that is all you that no one else can do. Everyone is replaceable. Yes, there might be strategy things that I'm able to come up with, but that doesn't mean that someone else couldn't come up with a different strategy. So even where I thought I'm only strategy, I now have an amazing marketing coordinator on my team who's amazing at strategy and comes up with ideas that I completely trust him to run with. So when it came to video editing, I knew that I needed to find people that had a similar creative vision to me, but could still also be detail oriented, follow a process. So that's part of what we do in our vetting. Like you mentioned, how do we test them before we even hire them? So in our hiring process, we put out a job post, and it's very thorough with like the results, the requirements, the like what we expect and what this role is fully a part of and what we want them to achieve. In that, we also have the link to that type form that I mentioned, where I also say in that job post, you must fill out this type form. Anyone that doesn't, your application will not be considered. So if we put a post on Indeed or any other kind of job posting site, if they just send their resume through, but they don't fill out the type form, I don't pay attention to it, because that's also a test of, do you have attention to detail? Are you spending the time? Or is this something that you're just like throwing out resumes but not really caring about the job that you're applying for? So in that type form, we also ask questions that might be questions that you'd ask on a first interview, that you'd ask about, like for culture fit, like what are your hobbies? What kind of experience do you have that relates to this role? What do you know about this business? And what do you know about me? Are you a kind of person that likes to do the same thing every day and really dive into that role? Are you the kind of person who wants to have a new challenge every day? So I ask things like that in the type form so that even before I get on a call with them, I have a good idea of if they're a good cultural fit. Then after that, if I like that, then I will get on a call with them and have a quick meeting just to see how we communicate face to face. And that's a good sign too, because I've had people that come in the interview and they're very shy, or they can't really, you can write things a lot easier than you can speak things on the fly sometimes. Right. So the communication might not be there, or people that they're not looking at the camera and they seem very distracted, and I'm like, what are you looking at? So I want someone that I can have a good relationship with, and we can laugh together and just enjoy conversation if we're going to be spending a lot of time together. And then from there, I give them a test assignment. And the first test assignment, I give a small test assignment that I expect might take 20 minutes, half an hour or so, and I ask them to do it for free. Then and then I see from there, how is the quality of work? Did they submit it on time? I sometimes might leave out a few details to see if they ask for the details or if they come up with the answer on their own, because then that shows their initiative. And then if I like that, then I'll ask them to do a second test assignment, this time a paid test assignment, because I want to give them a bigger job to do, which is going to be a big indication of what their role would be if I choose to hire them. So it might seem a little bit extensive, but then that also helps me to know that I can really trust this person that I've hired, because you're putting a lot of time and energy into training them and hopefully in a way that they're going to stay with you for a long time.
That was awesome. I think that really gave an insight into how important it is to enjoy actually working with people and to have a set process. Let's talk about what's working and what's not working. We're kind of halfway through 2019. We're seeing a lot of different trends on social media with video. What can you share with the audience?
When it comes to video, definitely people who, I see a lot of it, unfortunately, just like Facebook Live content. And again, nothing wrong with Facebook Live. I do Facebook Live. I love it for day-to-day, like nurturing and communicating with your audience. But sometimes the Facebook Lives that are just about nothing at all, and there's no value to it, or there's no relationship building to it, or even if you ever see those people that they go on Facebook Live and for the first few minutes they're testing the audio, or they're like, hey, is this thing on? Or like, hey, I'm just going to wait until more people join. Well, what they might be forgetting is that after the Facebook Live is over, people are watching the replay, and people need to be engaged very quickly, like 15 to 30 seconds. And if they're not engaged in that time, they're going to click off and they're never going to get your message, no matter how impactful it was. So when I do a Facebook Live, or when I'm training people on how to do any kind of video, it's the beginning has to really hook people. And we learned this from Russell Brunson: hook, story, offer. Like, how do you hook people right away? How do you tell them a story that's going to resonate with them, and then lead them towards an offer in a way that you've given them this value up front that they think, well, of course it's worth it for me to sign up for this thing, or get this free thing, or pay them money for whatever it is that you're offering. So that's something that I see not working, is sometimes people are too focused on how many people are watching, or what am I worrying too much about what they're saying, that they're not saying anything.
Right. What about just social media outside of video?
Outside of it, like for what's not working?
Yeah, or what's working.
I mean, oh gosh, there's a lot of things that I'm learning all the time, seeing people write these long, impactful posts, and really seeing like how do you engage someone with written content or video content. And the biggest thing that I'm seeing is hook, story, offer. Is that right at the top of the paragraph, or at the top of the video, is that sentence that really, like, boom, really impacts people and makes them intrigued, wanting to watch more or wanting to read more. And then going straight into a story, because we're really attracted to vulnerability. Like, the more that we get to hear someone, the more they're willing to open up. It's scary, first of all, to open up, but when you do and you show that side of you, it also, there's so many sides of it. There's the side where you get to share your story that people resonate with, they know, like, and trust you. Then the other side of it, where you're leading the way and your vulnerability makes other people feel safe so that they can do so themselves, because we all have a message to share. We all have a story. We all have also an impact that we want to make. So when we're able to do that and grow that know, like, trust factor, it makes selling and trust 10 times easier. And I know that there's the fear of, like, the haters, like, what if people don't like this, or they're mean to me about it? Well, that's not your audience, but you have to focus on the people that did need to hear that.
100%. Anything that we missed that you want to cover?
I feel like I've been rambling. I'm like, am I talking too much? These are all great questions, so thought-provoking.
This has been great. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find out more about you, and what are you most excited about for the rest of the year?
Well, definitely my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Marley Baird Media. There's lots of free trainings on there about YouTube and video marketing. And I actually have a masterclass that I'd love to share. It's how to create 60 days of social media and video content in 8 hours. And it's not one of those webinars that has, like, the fluff and some sob story and then a pitch. It's actually 45 minutes of a training that you can take and execute immediately. So that's 60daysofcontent.com, 60 as in the numbers, 60daysofcontent.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy this content? If so, click like, leave us a comment, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue bringing you great content all about hiring.